So the Samsung Galaxy Note 9 is a very interesting phone, so let's go and see how this phone holds up in the middle part of 2023. Now, the first things first, this phone came out in 2018, and it's funny because this phone, hardware-wise, is still holding up very, very well. I have to say that every time I pick up this phone because it's unbelievable how good of a job Samsung did back in 2018. On the front of this phone, we have a 6.4-inch Super AMOLED display, 1440p, and it's an overall very good looking panel. I felt like back then that Samsung knocked it out of the park, and they pretty much did the same thing here too. Very good display, just very, very good build quality, and I think it's a very awesome thing Samsung did. We have the S Pen built in at the bottom, which is basically like a stylus thing. Not a lot of phones have it. Samsung phones, those specifically Galaxy Note phones, have had it since day one, which is really cool. We have a USB Type-C port, we have a headphone jack, and we have a micro SD card slot as well. This phone probably had some of the most input-output I've ever seen in my life. We had like 4 different things that we could do within this phone right there, just from like inputting and outputting things, which is pretty cool. On the back, standard glass back, fingerprint sensor there too, dual camera setup, which was pretty cool. IP certification, very, very good build quality, curved glass on the front, and I've talked about this phone for so many years now. I think we all pretty much know what we're getting into when we're getting a phone like this. But like I mentioned, the fact that this thing has an amazing display is kind of, no 120 Hz, but it's still pretty good. The S Pen, micro SD card slot, like this phone had so much stuff going for it even back then that it's so nice to see and kind of revisit because it's kind of like a breath of fresh air, to be honest. Now, on top of that, with that camera setup, wide and telephoto lens, because this phone came out in 2018, not a lot of phone manufacturers were inputting ultra-wide cameras yet, so I kind of understand. Even Apple didn't have an ultra-wide camera on their iPhone yet either, so it's kind of understandable, but it kind of would have been nice had this phone had that type of capability even at that moment. You were able to do 4K at 60 on the front and 1440p video on the, or 4K at 60 on the back and 1440p video on the front. Still really nice that we had that type of capability there too. But overall, I'll definitely tell you, with the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, I really do feel like they did a really good job here, and overall the camera setup was honestly decent at the time. Software-wise, this phone has pretty much been outdated with software for quite a bit of time, and that's kind of what happens when you get a phone of this caliber, of this age. So, it is what it is. It's not the oldest phone in the world, but Android 10, I think, is when this thing stopped. We're like on the betas of Android 14 right now. So this phone just really isn't looking too hot in that perspective. It is what it is, like I've been saying for 3 years now. So again, it wouldn't be the reason why I wouldn't buy this phone, but it really isn't helping this device that you're not getting software updates anymore. Performance-wise, you have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chipset inside with 6 gigs of RAM on the base model, but it does go up to 8 gigabytes of RAM. Now, the one thing I'll tell you about this device, again, you're kind of stuck in this weird phase where it's just, it's just kind of an outdated phone. You might be able to get like okay performance from this thing in some perspective, but this device has been outdated for quite a bit of time, and Qualcomm and Samsung have made massive leaps in their devices since this device, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense to buy this phone either. So to kind of sum it up, what I'll definitely tell you is, I kind of do think the Samsung Galaxy Note 9, the hardware outlived the software. If this phone got Android 13, maybe this thing would kind of be worth it in some ways, but it's just an outdated device, and it really just doesn't make any sense to buy this phone anymore, in my opinion. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.